Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today we're covering the fourth My Hero Academia movie, You're Next.
And you're next to hear this.
Yeah.
This movie takes place after the UA Traitor arc in Season 7, so it's got a much different vibe and story. And in the midst of a calm from the Hero War, new villain emerges in Japan who believes he's being chosen by All Might, Psycho, to become his successor. And he's going to go to any lengths to prove it. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification for some future podcasts and all pause videos.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sharing our videos, commenting, joining us for Superhero Week. As always, we appreciate everything you do.
Yes.
So we were really excited about finally getting to see this movie.
Yes.
It came out last year in August. It premiered in Japan August 2nd.
Yes.
And then finally got to us, and it had a $32.2 million box office return.
Wow. So still made
worldwide.
Quite a bit. Still made quite a bit. And this one, a lot of people weren't really expecting because after World Heroes Mission, they thought maybe that was going to be in the MHA movies. Because after every movie, of course, she says, oh, that probably is it. And then even announces the new one. This one seems a bit more on the definitive side of maybe this will be it. Because now there is no more places in the story to have these other one-off adventures before the rest of the main story. Because as of recording this, we are in the final season of MHA. Mm-hmm. We're in the literal final battle. So there is no time for filler. There is no time for goof off. No time for another movie in the middle of the final battle.
And the manga series itself has officially ended.
Right. So we were curious to see what a story they could come up with, since this isn't clearly going to follow the other three films.
True. Now, we mentioned it has a different feel. One reason for that is that Kenji Nagasaki was the director for the first three movies. Mm-hmm. This one had a different director, Tensei Okamura.
Oh, okay.
So it's another reason for a difference in how it feels.
Right.
So this one had 9 producers.
Oh, gosh.
2 cinematographers. Edited by Kumiko Sakamoto. Music by Yuki Hayashi. Mm-hmm. And the music also had a different feel.
Right. Plus, it got its own intro.
True. Produced by Studio Bones as usual, and distributed by Toho. That was one of the big differences. An actual movie intro, and we were so surprised. Mm-hmm. And we said, well, it's probably the last one if they're going to go all out for it like this.
Right.
Not sure why those were placement for the director, but it definitely had an impact on the movie itself, mm-hmm. how things unfold, and how it felt as a movie altogether.
Yeah. And I think the reason, now, before you think, oh, so you hate the movie? No, you don't. But we can tell this was a different vibe from the other three. The other three, regardless of how you feel and think only one of them's good, like Heroes Rising or something, we could tell that there was always this sort of more optimistic approach with each movie. Regardless of what was happening, you knew the heroes were going to win. And technically, you still know they're going to win here, too. But there's a slight more serious tone to it. Mm-hmm. And we get another reason because it's right after the Traitor arc. It's still in the middle of the Hero War. And it's just like a sort of detour in the middle of a calm. So we get that it's not going to be 100% like the other movies because they don't have that freedom anymore. Everything changed.
Absolutely.
But we did expect it to have a little more lightheartedness at more points than what they had. They kept it pretty serious.
True. So if you're joining us and you're not really familiar with My Hero Academia, You're Next, the movie, it's, again, 2024 Japanese animated superhero film. Now, this is based on the original story, mm-hmm. featuring the characters of our beloved MHA manga series by mm-hmm. Kohei Horikoshi. And it features an ensemble cast mm-hmm. that includes a few new people we aren't familiar with, mm-hmm. characters that are going to be one-off as far as we know, and we'll get into that a little later.
Right.
And as you mentioned, it takes place after the UA Traitor arc. Mm-hmm. And again, Deku faces a villain who tries to imitate the hero that Deku has long admired the most. Mm-hmm. And the guy's psycho. That's the only way to put it. He is
Start.
absolutely, positively psycho. I thought it was interesting, Rascal pointed out that Horikoshi chose to have villains from different areas of the world each movie.
Right. And for the first one, you had one from the U.S., which is obvious since they were in a mostly U.S. type base in Expo. Then the second movie had one already from Japan, but he was also genetically modified to be like all for one. Then you had the third one, which was technically, they don't reveal where he's from, but they kind of hint that he's in from a fictional place within the MHA world.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, he's actually Italian coming over to Japan. So it wasn't like we're going to have one type of person be the villain every movie. It was a different assortment every time, whether it was the main villain or the side ones.
Yes. And it was really interesting them having an Italian one because you could tell this was an AU Italian universe.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't represent Italy, so there would be no negative connotations. And
Right.
I love how in his representations of different countries, Horikoshi always gives you an AU version.
Mm-hmm.
And I love sometimes how he depicts them
Mm-hmm.
because you can see his love for the country even when the villain's from there.
Mm-hmm.
You can see his love for the country and how he depicts it and shows it.
Yes.
And in this one you had Valdo Golini, also known as Dark Might. I'm going to keep calling him the Psychopath because that's what he was.
Psychopath.
And he was voiced by Christopher Sabat,
Right,
the
which
same
is
as
funny.
All Might, which was brilliant.
Right.
He voiced both the hero and the villain.
Yes.
And that family is a criminal family. Within this universe, you got Deborah and Camille and Hugo and Paulo and Simone
Yes.
and Bruno. The whole
And-
family is a crime family.
Yes.
Not a mafia family. Like in the real world,
Mhm.
they're just a crime syndicate.
Right.
And the word mafia is never used. And he was smart for not doing that.
Right.
And then he doesn't have a quirk from what we can tell of his own. He uses the quirk of his niece,
Yes.
Anna Cerveno.
Yeah.
Anna Cerveno.
Yes. And by constantly using it, he and the rest of the crime family are able to use their powers to fullest extent. And a lot of them are more harmful rather than just powerful. And a lot of them have different unique takes. Like one has a power to make a person see their greatest desire and they fall into a sleep. Another one can enhance someone else's powers, but if it doesn't meld well, they're assumed dead or knocked out. And one where they can change the shields in the atmosphere in a little similar way to 9, but it can be on and off depending on how they turn it on and off. So everyone still had a unique power. And you might say, well, they didn't really stand on as much as anyone else. True, but I think for this, the main one was Dark Might. You really weren't supposed to be too involved with anyone else since they all acted like one unit. And that's why the powers were a little different in here than what you normally see.
So I think you're right. He had a quirk, but he overused it. And
he burned out.
Right. And so, again, he takes over her quirk, and he's had her for a while. Looks like since she was maybe a teen. And he had been taking advantage of her. And the more he uses her quirk, her hair goes dark. And she reminded us of Dark Phoenix, actually, in the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
But this particular one, she doesn't want to do evil.
Yeah.
She wants to get away, and she even tells the person who's being hired to be over her, Giulio Gandini, who is a cross between Rhodey Soul and
Edward Elric.
Yes.
And a little bit of Shadow.
to take her out if it gets to the point where it looks like she's going to do so much evil and so much damage because of how they're abusing her quirk that she wanted him to take her out.
Yes.
Again, pretty dark.
Yes. So even with this really dark tone to it, they still managed to have some fun moments. They don't have the big ones you usually had in the first 3 films where they had some levity or relaxed moments before hitting it. They just had to have some humorous parts in the middle of the story. And a lot of it had involved with Deku, especially when poor guy was running into things because there was a lot of illusions. So when they were running in a forest, he ran into the wall. And then when they were going down a pipe, I think, or a sewer or something, and he was Deku was kind of sliding too much, and then he's like, oh, I need you to stay on, and then when he couldn't do it anymore and he was sliding down, his legs were getting stretched out so much that in the subtitles you can see he says, his crotch! So it's like, I guess he can feel something there.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking, this whole, almost the entire movie takes place in an imaginary world. As you said, an illusion world. Yes. They're nowhere within the real world.
Yes.
And the laws of physics and gravity and so forth aren't working the way that they know, and they don't find that out until they attempt to take down these different villains, and things don't go as they plan. But of course they figure how things work and how to overcome them, but most of the movie is them trying to figure out what to do. Another thing that happened is, although all of Class 1A is in the movie, they get divided and split up into groups.
Still, yeah. And I know that was sort of a complaint with the third movie. The second one had all of UA work together to fight a villain. People absolutely loved it. Everyone had time to shine. The third one, however, it was back to just being about the main three, or really Deku and Rhodey, and people were very disappointed in that. So I guess our coach decided, okay, let's get everyone involved again, but don't just repeat the second movie. So they had everyone still work together, but in selected groups. Mm-hmm. And then they all came together at the end when they had to help defeat Dark Might and the other characters. Because they actually do show at one point that when he's going to go full on power and he thinks he's going to actually take All Might's place as the chosen one, that he was just going to start obliterating anything else that had to do with heroes, and he wanted to be the sole hero. Like, they even show he was going to be on his way to destroy UA and any other facility that was training heroes. So they made sure he knew, even though he was a much different villain, he was, and more dramatic, he was still a threat.
True. So from probably the middle point of the movie to the end, the biggest goal is for Julio and Deku wanting to save Anna.
Yes.
He doesn't want to take her out. So I want to read something quickly because it can be a little confusing when you're watching the movie. Things aren't exactly pointed out clearly.
Yes.
You want me to wait till you say something else?
Oh, no. It'll be afterwards because it is actually important that you know.
Okay.
For these characters.
So I'm reading this because I wanted to be explained clearly. Julio reveals that Anna's quirk is overmodification. By touching people, she can greatly enhance their abilities, but only to certain compatible people, while others experience intense pain. Julio's quirk, neutralization, allows him to neutralize her quirk temporarily, which led him to be hired by the wealthy Servino family to care for her.
Right.
Now, that family learned of Anna's quirk and murdered her entire family and kidnapped her.
Yes, still dark.
Julio further reveals that Anna's quirk will reach quirk singularity after overuse, and that his own quirk has been rendered unusable after losing his right arm during the Golini's attack. That's why we said Edward Elric. Julio has to fulfill his promise to Anna years ago to take her out if her quirk goes out of control. And Deku and Class 1A firmly believe there's got to be a way to save her instead of doing that.
Right.
So that pretty much explains everything in a nutshell.
Right.
Great, concise explanation.
Right.
And yes, you can tell because of their opposite quirks, they're going to end up being a couple. And you knew that he was in love with her. You weren't sure about her being in love with him, but you knew he was in love with her. And no matter how gruff and how crazy he was acting, you knew he loved her.
Yes.
And all I kept saying, this is Rhodey's soul. This is Rhodey's soul.
Well, not only that.
With an eye patch and an Edward Elric arm and leg.
Yes, that was just full-on Full Metal Alchemist. Okay, now I can add the other thing. We're not going to go into huge spoilers, but there comes to a point towards the very end of the movie where it looks like things are going to work out. And when he believes his mission is finally over, and she actually desires to just, in this case you understand, just live normally enough to worry about her core going out of control or causing world damage, understandably. And he's about to leave, so, you can now do whatever you want. You can touch whoever you want. And I don't even watch over you. And you're thinking, okay, that's good. And then, she still wanted him to stay. And he's like, did you not hear me? I said you can do what you want. She said, yes, I know. And Mama said, it was the funniest part. You said, oh, so he's naive. It's just Silver and Blaze all over again. You don't freaking get it. I was like, why'd you bring that up? I'm never going to stop thinking about it.
It was. It's like, I don't know what she could have done except for slap him to let him know, I want to be with you. It was really sweet, though. Just like Silver and Blaze. It was really sweet. And you do get a happy ending in terms of the events of this movie.
Right.
But at the end, you know that all might escape from Tartarus. I'm sorry, all for one. Forgive me, guys.
Yeah.
Escape from Tartarus, and he's waiting for Shigaraki to reawaken. Right. So you know that it's not going to be a happy ending at this point.
Right, just for those characters.
For these characters. And you were glad that the movie ended that way.
Yes.
The music was also very different, I want to point out. Because we kept waiting to hear that MHA music you're so used to hearing. Mm-hmm. And it took over halfway through the movie before we got that.
True. You really didn't start hearing it until it got to the third act and they were getting ready to do their usual final battle with the villain, and you were hearing the heroic music and then also the different states of his smash powers. Yeah, that was hugely missing till the end. And again, this might be because of when this movie's taking place and they were trying not to have it be where it didn't fit. But personally, we would still like to hear the soundtrack we like throughout the whole movie rather than just the end, and seeing how it develops and builds and everything, just like you had the other one. We understand now a whole lot of levity because crap was still happening.
Right.
And after the traitor, absolutely understand not being a whole lot of levity. But you still would have had more pieces of it fit in so you could, still have it feel like the other MHA movies.
Right. So those are the major differences, and I would have to say I enjoyed the movie, but this probably would be my fourth favorite movie. It's the fourth movie, and it's my fourth favorite. I like them all.
Yes.
I love the first one. The first one's my favorite. Mm-hmm. And then the second one's my favorite. Second favorite. And the third one's my second favorite.
So almost in order.
Yes, for me, yes. To me, the best one was going to be the first one because it had done something that other animes hadn't done, and just the excitement was there. And also the biggest thing was the potential for this franchise to have an impact with anime movies in the future. And because that potential was there and hadn't been realized yet, it was just the first one. That's one reason it's my favorite.
Right.
And also, for Rascal and I, it was the very first anime movie we ever saw in theaters, and it was the movie that resulted in other anime movies being able to be shown here, not in little itty-bitty personal theaters, but in major theaters. And we were part of that by going to pay to see it. And we didn't know at the time we went to see it that it was only going to be a subtitle. We didn't care. Because the voice actors for Japanese and English have been chosen to be just spot on the same. And we genuinely and thoroughly enjoyed that movie. We were so excited. We couldn't wait to hear it dubbed as well. So this movie's great.
Yes.
It's just different from the first three.
Yes.
It's got a different feel, a different vibe. And you don't have as much of the explosive action that you have in the first three.
There was a lot more tension, a lot more drama, and especially with his version of the ideal that he think All Might has for him, and he just straight up tell him, no, this is not what I want. So, yeah, understandably so.
And he also, lastly, is thoroughly a very bad villain in the MHA universe. This guy was no joke, and again, he was a psychopath. He would say one thing, oh, I might let you live to serve me, And then a couple minutes later, you know what? I've changed my mind. I'm gonna take you out. I don't
It's like
need
what?
You.
Like
He
he
was
could
like
just
he was. He was
cheat on a dime.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
That's what he was like.
Yeah.
And then you also learn, and this is the spoiler, that he doesn't look like All Might. He's had alterations.
Yeah.
And maybe I was just naive, like Silver and
no.
Julio, because I did not understand that this was a facade until it happened. I was like, oh. And Russell said, no, he doesn't look like him. Did you think so? I said, yeah.
That would have been actually hilarious, but no. They made sure like, no, this is just what he thought. Oh, he'll be the next one. Let's just look like him. No.
But this was a great movie, and I really hope we get one more. I'm hoping we get one more to finish it out. The franchise. That's what I'm hoping. That somehow, somewhere, they're going to find a way, even if it's like a movie that finishes out where we get the final chapters of the book, where they show the future.
Right.
That would be fantastic to have a movie that shows them in the future.
Yes.
And how they all ended up. I would love to see that as a movie.
Absolutely.
But if you've seen My Hero Academia, you're next. Let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts? How did you like it? How do you think it stacks up to the first 3 movies? Is it your favorite? Or how do you rank it on the scale of between 1 and 4? Let us know what you think. If you haven't seen it, you gotta see it. It's a great movie. If you're an MHA fan and you haven't seen it yet, it's everywhere. We saw it on Netflix, but it's on Netflix and Crunchyroll and Hulu and any place it can stream.
Right.
This movie is there now.
Plus,
you can, if you just want to go ahead and pay for it, you can do that too. But give it a watch. Come back and tell us what you think.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, videos for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today, sharing our videos. We hope you're enjoying our selections for Superhero Month this year. As always, you are special.
Thank you so much for watching Mask Entertainment.
And Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket.